All right, I believe we are live here. Just gonna make sure that this is going. All right, perfect. What's up? It's Ryan Diegger here, and this is Learn, Design, and Code. So today, I want to create just a quick little, I guess, example or proof of concept. Earlier today, I was on YouTube, and I was looking at basically looking for thumbnail inspiration and trying to get a sense of different patterns that different YouTubers kind of use when they're putting together thumbnails. And again, just to get a sense of, what looks good, what's kind of effective, what, where do things not look as good. And I had the idea of, so I started putting these together and kind of assembling things that I thought looked interesting. And something that caught my eye, particularly with the YouTuber Dansky, is he's got this interesting pattern where, as you can see here, he's got a logo in the top left corner and then sort of the end result that you'll achieve here. So Dansky creates design and Photoshop and Illustrator tutorials and Premiere, basically all things Adobe. And what I found interesting about this pattern here is that even if you don't have any text on the image, unlike these other examples here, even if you don't have text on the image, your thumbnail can still, kind of do a lot of work for you. So just need to take a quick sip of water here. So what's interesting here is just looking at this, you can tell, okay, this is going to be an Illustrator tutorial, and I'm guessing that I'm going to be shown how to make this home icon here. And likewise here, it's a Photoshop tutorial, and I'm probably going to learn some, text, text effect. And again, you can see this pattern kind of everywhere here. Icon top left, and the kind of finished work, finished product in the middle. So what this got me thinking, and even looking at these, at all these different designs here, is again, when you kind of have these things isolated on their own, so no, again, no title, no view count, it just really makes you recognize, how much these things can kind of stand on their own when they are designed well, and how much, again, you can glean just from the thumbnail alone. So the idea I wanted to quickly implement was to see if I could just create a quick little script that would basically remove all the details, so the title and the view count and all that, and just leave me with thumbnails, just as a quick way to, again, almost like toggle them on and off, and just kind of see, kind of a like quick first impression. What do I kind of see here? And I think it also helps you, again, look at it objectively, and again, kind of ignore, something like the view count and the headline, and see how much, again, you can kind of understand from just looking at the thumbnail. So let's do this with JavaScript here. I'm gonna pull up the console, and I'm actually gonna dock this maybe to the right, so it's a little easier to see. So it's not as squished. So just to preface this, I did kind of go in and look ahead at what what thing I want to remove here. So if I just click this, and I can see in the inspector, each item is kind of in this custom web component. So this YTD grid video renderer. As I hover over these, you can see in the left view here that these are being highlighted. So I don't want to remove this, so you can quickly toggle the visibility of that just by right-clicking and hitting toggle visibility. And as you can see, this is kind of gone here. So I'm going to toggle that back on, open this up, and we still have another div here, the thumbnail and the details. And this is what we're after here. So if I toggle the visibility, that is going to remove that. So I'm going to go back to turn that on. And what we can do is, again, this is just a really quick example, quick kind of proof of concept. These have an ID of details. So I'm going to go in here, do document, query, selector all, and we can do comma, hashtag, details, and that will give me all the divs with an ID of details. So I hit enter. You can see I've got this big list here with all the items. So there's 87 in total here, and this could continue to grow. So as you can see, there's 87. If I do this again, there should be an even larger list. So yeah, we can see now there's 99 because this is just going to keep going here. So I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm going to assign this to, say, detail var. We'll call it var details. And again, just to quickly illustrate how this works. So now that I've assigned this to a variable and I type in details, I've got this node list here. So it's possible to loop over all of these items using for each. According to the MDN web docs, you can use for each. In some browsers, you can just do a for each loop over a node list. In some cases, you need to convert it to an array to actually iterate over it using a for each. And just for clarification, iterates is basically just the process of applying kind of your code or script to each item in this node list. So what we actually want to do, what we're going to do here, is I want to, for each item in this list, I basically want to set its display value to none, so that I can, I guess that's an example here. Again, I'm going to do this toggle visibility. I basically want to turn this off, so all I have here is just a grid. I want to do that for each one, so that all I have left is a grid of thumbnails. So we're going to do this using for each, and with a using the for each method, you can pass in an argument which will basically be the way to kind of understand this is that you can really name this anything. So you could call it items, you could call it item, detail, and basically what that's doing is passing in each of these kind of elements here into this function here. So I'm going to, so again, we could just do console. We'll just do this real quick. I could just do console log item, and what that's done is just logged, console logged every item that was in our in this node list here. So again, pretty quick and dirty here. What we could do is do item, and the way to kind of think of this is that, so we just did console log and printed all of these things out. You can imagine that this item here is equal to these divs here. But again, because we're using for each, it's going to apply whatever code we type here to each of these divs. Each of these divs here. So as we're going to see, we can remove, again, these details. So again, instead of thinking of like, okay, it's going to remove, we're just going to remove the details on this one. For each is going to apply this code of removing the details on all of them. So I'm going to type dot item dot style dot display, and this is how we can edit CSS properties of our item here. And so we do item.style.display, and this is going to affect the display property of the elements that are in this node list. So we're going to set it to none, and when I type this should remove all the details here. Yeah, here we go. As you can see, we just have this grid of thumbnails here. So again, this is kind of an interesting way to look at this with a fresh set of eyes in terms of kind of understanding and trying to dissect sort of the design of these thumbnails. And we can do the same. We'll set this. We can reset this. I'm going to set this back to, I believe, initial. Yeah. So if I type initial, that will re-add, not re-add these. It just sets the property back, sets the display property back so that they are visible. So we could do the exact same thing, but we could do the opposite and remove the thumbnail, and again, kind of break down. Okay, well, how effective are these? Are these titles? So I'm just going to look at these, and we can see. So again, going to these containers, or going to our inspector here, and I can see that it looks like our the thumbnail is, again, this custom component here, YTD thumbnail. So let's make another variable, and we'll just call it, computer's trying to update right now. I'll just call it thumbnail, and we'll do equals document query selector all. And because this is a custom component, we should actually just be able to type YTD dash thumbnail, and we're basically selecting an element here. So if we want to select all the divs on the page, we would just type div. So here we're going to do thumbnail. Hit enter, and let's see that we got everything here. And yeah, we got our node list again. And let's just do basically the exact same here. We'll type this out, thumbnail dot for each function item. Again, this can be called anything. This isn't going to be the same as, even though we're using item here, again, it's not going to be the same as before. This item here is going to be specific to, items going to be referring to items in this node list from the thumbnail. So that is definitely something that I still have kind of troubles wrapping my head around or explaining, but want to try and explain it in a way that makes sense, because I know how difficult it can kind of be to wrap your head around that. So if we just do item again, dot style, actually just to show, I guess to demonstrate that, we'll call this thumbnail item and dot style dot display equals none. All right, perfect. So now again, you can kind of look at this, and if you want to just, again, kind of understand, okay, like how effective are the headlines or the video titles on their own. If you can't rely on the images, yeah, how effective is your video title at getting you to getting someone to again click on it? So even as you can see here, we've got the fastest way to duplicate objects in ... Well, I guess as you hover over it, you'll see the full title. But even with this, that could be a good indicator that, okay, you maybe need to keep your titles smaller. But here, these ones are great. You got how to auto animate. You got the full thing. Again, these titles here, how to's are always very kind of compelling video titles. And again, even looking at these two, like these are all very self-explanatory. So as you can see right in the title here, you kind of know what you are getting. And again, there's even things like auto animate like a pro in Adobe XD. So again, who doesn't want to be a pro? Very, very desirable. So that's a very quick way to do this. As you can see, this is just a simple proof of concept and hasn't figured out how to, doesn't solve the problem of scrolling, because these things, as we keep going, are not being added to our node list. So there's definitely a way that we could do this, account for this, but I will address this in a different live stream and look at some additional ideas. So I guess ideas for a future one would be, okay, how can we kind of create a function that will kind of update and always kind of have a refreshed list of all the items on our page here. The other thing too is, what if we could also basically create like an extension or a button that you could add specifically onto YouTube here, where we could just toggle between, okay, I want to see the thumbnails. That is not working. Why not? Oh, let's see, is it inherit? Okay. So we got these reset here. So it'd be cool to, again, just like be able to have a button that would basically handle this functionality for us. So I want to toggle thumbnails off. I want to toggle them back on. And likewise with the details here, I want to independently control those as well. So toggle those off and toggle them back on. There we go. So again, just very quick, fun little example here. Just something that was inspired by, again, this kind of thumbnail design inspiration and analysis. So thanks for tuning in. This is, again, Learn, Design, and Code. Have a great night.